Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome to the Most Excellent Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Keith, and this was supposed to be the first in a series of special episodes that'll be popping up every once in a while called My Taste in Music Sucks. The idea was that I would talk about an album that I really love, a piece of music that really means something to me that I enjoy, and then I would bring someone on the podcast who did not necessarily share my view. Then I had an idea that maybe we'd get somebody on who was neutral too, who maybe they were new to the album and we could kind of try to sway them one way or another. So the guests were, well, I'm not going to tell you who the guests were supposed to be. That's neither here nor there. But one of them canceled because he's not feeling well, and the other one just hasn't been on the internet in hours and did not respond to my last message. So I am going to talk to you guys for a moment about an album that has been a part of my life for my whole entire life. To be completely honest, it's "In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida" by Iron Butterfly. Now, my uncle Dickie, who my mom came from a huge family, but her and my uncle Dickie were close. He died when I was very young. I think I was somewhere between 2 and 4, like old enough to walk, but not old enough to have real memories. He used to call me Sport. So for a while, my mom tried to keep that nickname alive. He died from asphyxiation in a car. There's a few different stories of what may or may not have happened. Um, the family story is that he had broken up with a girl and he went to her house to try to beg her to come back. She wouldn't let him in the house. He stayed outside in his car, and he needed to be warm, so he turned the car on. There was an exhaust leak, and he died from that. You guys can probably put together what the other possible explanation for his death is. Um, and this was in the early 70s, early to mid 70s. Cars were not amazing back then. There's a lot of light coming in behind me. It's making me look funky, but honestly, I kind of dig it when this happens. I know it may not be the most professional thing, but I think it looks cool. So whatever. Enjoy it. Enjoy Shadow Man. So, um, when my uncle Dickie died, my mom got his albums. Uh, and amongst those albums was Monster by Steppenwolf, which has the absolute coolest album art I've ever seen in my life. If you ever get a chance to get your hands on a vinyl copy of Monster by Steppenwolf, unfold that thing and look at it. And a couple other things, the Hair soundtrack, um, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. But "In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida" by Iron Butterfly was in there. And man, for those of you who are watching the video, I'm gonna try to hide. Check out that freaking album cover, man. Like, how cool does that thing look? Imagine that on a vinyl, it's just such a cool looking psychedelic 60s, Um, and I loved it when I was a kid. When I got older, I picked up the CD and I still have it to this day, and I'll still pull it out. I still listen to it on Spotify sometimes. It's a fantastic piece of music, and I'm sure that people are familiar with "In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida," which I believe at the time was the longest single ever released to radio. It's almost 20 minutes long. Of course, some radio stations chose to do a radio edit, which edited out the epic drum solo, which is clearly necessary. But anyway, I'm just going to tell you all what I love about "In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida." Um, the first thing is the vocals. Like, the singer for "In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida," the singer for Iron Butterfly, I'm sorry, clearly influenced Eddie Vedder. And I mean, if he didn't, then he should have. Like, it's that vocal style. It's the Eddie Vedder, Scott Weiland, Scott Stapp, uh, Hootie. That, you know what I mean? That freaking, that just, he was the first person to do that from what I can tell. Um, and then there's the songs, man. Like, I feel like stoner rock and doom metal and very obviously progressive rock were super influenced by Iron Butterfly. Like Termination, the song Termination could have been on a Caius album, except it has killer keyboards. So, but this is termination, the outcome of your life. It's like very dark, um, really, really cool. Flowers and Beads, which is a love song, and it's about, how you can have flowers and beads and they make your life great, but what really makes your life great is a hot chick. So, um, it's just, man, if all you know from Iron Butterfly is In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, the song, pick this album up, listen to the entire version because not a lot of people get to hear it. Obviously, if they're playing it nowadays, if they're playing it at all, now that the '90s are classic rock, um, '60s classic rock is barely played on the radio. But if they do play it, they're going to play the 3-minute version, and you're not going to get to hear the sprawling epicness that is that song. And then you'll get to check out other stuff like Termination and Flowers and Beads, which are both amazing songs. There's a couple other tracks on there, but I feel like those are the three standouts. And I wanted to say something else, and it slipped away, man. Slipped away. But yeah, regardless, man, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, Iron Butterfly, check it out. I was very interested to see what negative things Paul was going to say about the album because I feel like a lot of the music that he listens to is influenced by this stuff. Like I feel like without Iron Butterfly, there's no Godsmack, even though I hate Godsmack. Um, I think that they're a twisted child of Iron Butterfly. Um, they're a forgotten freaking band, man, that shouldn't have been forgotten. So check them out, man. Let me know what you think. I would love to get some interaction. That'd be awesome. And so now that part of the podcast is done, it is time for me to introduce the most special guest that I have ever had on the Most Excellent Entertainment podcast. I think I'm going to switch my background real quick. I'm going to switch it up to the traditional Most Excellent Entertainment podcast background. Bam. Here we go. Before I do this, the guy who I am talking to today is one of the hardest working people that I know. He has believed in me through this entire journey. His microphone is muted for some reason, so I'm going to fix that. Did you unmute yourself? It's
Yeah,
showing that you were muted.
I muted it so there wouldn't be any kind of background noise while you were talking. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a mistake.
No, you're good.
So
You're good.
you just heard his voice. You've never heard his voice on this podcast before, but he is a podcaster on his own. He is a producer extraordinaire. He is a musician. He is a fantastic human being and a man who, over the past year or so, has become one of my best friends, man. Honestly, my producer, the owner of ME Studios, Mr. Tyler Martin.
Thank you, sir.
Tyler,
That's the most special I've ever felt, to be honest with you.
hey man, that's what we do here.
Yeah.
We make the guests feel good, brother.
I don't
This is
know.
not.
I feel pressure now. I feel like I gotta like prove my worth now. You know what I
Oh
mean?
man, dude, you prove your worth every week, man.
I appreciate
They
that,
just
man.
don't know it. You know what I mean? They just
Right.
don't see it.
Well,
So
they're not supposed to. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how we met, man,
Yeah.
through Mr. Christopher Icon.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure how much I've actually talked about this on this podcast, but I used to be a wrestling promoter, and I had a pretty popular wrestling company in Southern Indiana called Pro or World's Finest Wrestling. And Icon, who I've known for a long time, good dude, I trust him. He told me that he knew a guy who was looking to get involved in producing wrestling shows, and that he had a podcast, and he wanted to come down and produce or see what he could do to help us. And that guy was Tyler. So Talk about that story from your side, brother.
Yeah, so I started out as a podcaster. I think I started in September of 2021. Um, didn't know at all what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to do it. I had a buddy that we watched podcasts together all the time. It's basically all we did. We'd watch it on his TV. And he always said, dude, we could be doing this. And I was like, yeah, but I just don't know how. And he's like, I think we could figure it out. And here we are, man. I figured it out. I still suck at what I do, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I just think that there's so much more that I could be doing in the future, and if I was to stop now, I wouldn't be happy. So,
Yeah, one thing that I've learned about Tyler is he's kind of his own worst critic, man.
yeah.
Um, I will like see stuff and think that it's amazing and think that he's doing a great job, and everybody else does too. He also produces our wrestling podcast, Roundtable Wrestling, and man, uh, I can't even like we're all really really thankful for all the stuff that he does, but he always wants to test it out, and he's always like, what do you guys think of this? And with me, man, if I could do the stuff that Tyler could do, I would just put it together and be like, this is what we're doing, hop in. you know and I mean, I always tell him that too. I always tell you that. I'm always like, you're the producer, man. What you think looks good, I'm probably gonna,
Yeah.
just do it, man. Like, because I do think that the ideas that you bring to the show are awesome. I think that you add a lot to the presentation of it. So,
Appreciate that.
um, no problem, man. So once you came down to WFW, unfortunately, we didn't know this, but we were going out of business pretty
Hmm.
soon. Um, so you did some good work for us, but uh, unfortunately, it didn't last.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it was meant to be that way, though. I think
yeah,
we're all better off for it. I believe. Maybe that's just my
yeah.
positive brain. You know what I mean?
I mean, man, I don't know. It's tough. Like, I miss the wrestling business a lot,
Yeah.
but I love doing this.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you and I stayed connected and that we were able to do this. Like, this is really cool. Um, it was funny because I don't even know what. I don't remember if I was just talking about having a podcast and you were like, "Hey, I could produce it," or if I messaged you about producing the podcast. I don't remember, but
I I don't know. I feel like it was a two-way street. I think you may have
yeah,
proposed it to me, and I was like,
yeah,
"Hell yeah, dude, let's do it."
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I have had an idea to do a podcast for a really long time, man,
Right.
and I have no clue. I have no idea how to do anything. I didn't even know how to use Zoom before I freaking met Tyler. So,
That was a
so I
nightmare for
appreciate
me,
that.
by the way.
Yeah, sorry, dude. I'm
No,
like,
I
what?
mean
How?
I'm trying like I'm saying like trying to figure out Zoom at first was a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how
Zoom is
bad I
insane.
was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, the weirdest thing about Zoom is like nothing is where you think it would be.
Right.
And it's like, why can't I just pull down this menu and find the stuff that I want? Like, you have to look everywhere. I still don't know how to find out how much recording space I've used up. I still don't know. I just
Yeah.
wait until I get a notification that I have to delete stuff. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I guess I'll go delete some stuff.
Yeah, at least it tells
But
you though, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, instead of just, disabling things.
Right.
Um, so aside from our podcast, Most Excellent Entertainment, and Roundtable Wrestling,
Yeah.
what other production stuff do you do?
Like actively.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast with my buddy that I talked about at first. That's the very first thing we ever did. We basically just talk about. No, we just act dumb in front of a camera and behind a microphone for about an hour or so every week.
That's awesome.
So, uh, I also do what started out as a wrestling podcast, and then I realized that podcasting by yourself is very hard. So
Mm,
I'm kind of transitioning in into a reaction channel where not necessarily like WWE stuff, but just other people that talk about wrestling that make
Mm,
videos with stuff that pops up on the screen or whatever like that. Um, I react to that kind of stuff. And I feel like I
okay.
know enough about wrestling that I can add stuff to it, I guess. Also,
Okay.
I don't know. It might just be that I'm a narcissist and I can't not be involved in this kind of stuff. I have no idea, but
I mean, is it narcissism or is it just a belief in yourself? You know what I
I,
mean?
I don't know. I feel like the belief in myself is more than it's ever been, but it's
Awesome.
not been there very long.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just more of an obsession of I I don't know why I want to do this, but I can't stop doing it. You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean? I don't know what it is.
right.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, in the beginning, I know you had some struggles,
Yeah.
and we talked about it a little bit on the podcast, just that you weren't feeling well.
Hmm.
You got really, really sick,
Yeah.
and then on top of the sickness, you also were having some mental health struggles. So when you're dealing with physical illness and then your mind is turning on you too, it's tough. And I appreciate
Yeah.
the fact that you still, I think we missed 1 week,
Hmm.
even if I was recording it myself. Like, I
Right.
think we missed 1 week out of that whole entire time.
Hmm.
You still, when you when you damn near could have died, man, your lungs were in rough shape.
Right.
You still got up out of bed and freaking made sure that the podcast was out every freaking week.
Well,
Um,
here's the thing. I did it
yeah.
in bed. You know what I mean?
Well, there
Like
you go.
that's the
Yeah.
obsession. It's like, oh, you can't get out of bed? Well, joke's on you, life. I can do this in bed, so fuck you. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's
It's one of
awesome.
those things, man.
Yeah, yeah. But that's cool, man. And then I remember, um, for a while, for those of you who don't know, which you don't because we didn't really talk about it on the air, I don't think, this was supposed to be a hiatus time.
Yeah.
Um, Tyler was really big on like let's recharge. Like every couple weeks he'd go, so in a couple weeks do you want to take a little time off? We'll do clip shows or whatever.
Right.
Um, And so we had actually decided that at the beginning of the year, we were going to take some time off until I think we decided like March or something like that. We'd take a couple months off and do clip
Hmm.
shows and
Yeah.
things like that. But then we started getting more guests in.
Hmm.
And honestly, I love the Roundtable Wrestling show, but this satisfies something else.
Right.
And we decided not to do the hiatus.
Yeah.
Like if and I appreciate you because I don't know how much of that you always say that it's because you don't want me to run out of guests or me to burn out. And I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think that's going to happen.
Right. That's
Um,
all that matters at the end of the day. Like
yeah,
I was always down to continue,
yeah,
but I know when I first started, I did not do near as many podcasts in a row that you've done.
right.
So you're killing it right now.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, there's so many people like who are like, most podcasts don't last past 5 episodes.
Right.
The fact that we're hitting number 30 today, um, is a big deal, man.
Yeah.
That's
Really is.
yeah, that's 6 months, of
Hmm.
of continuous podcasting. So it's really cool, man. And like I said before, I could have never done this on my own.
I don't
So
believe that at all. I know you.
dude, come on, man.
You would have figured it
I
out.
couldn't, man.
You would have figured it out.
Maybe. I
Even
don't
if
know, brother.
even if it killed you, you would have figured it out.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I love the floating head effect that the backgrounds do on freaking
Yeah.
it's
That's great.
freaking wild, man. Um so you also produce local sports, right? In Rushville?
Uh, what is it?
In Rushville, is that where you do it or?
No, I don't. It's not really producer. I guess you could
Okay.
call it that, but it's basically uh high school sports, football and basketball, more specifically. Um,
Okay.
I go to the radio station, and when they say timeout, we're gonna go to a timeout and do a 30-second timeout or 1 minute, whatever it is. I'll put the commercials on in the station, so I'll be
Oh,
listening
that's
to the
good.
game, waiting for a timeout.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get involved in that, man?
So radio is not something that you can just get into
Right.
easily. Now you can, but you have to know somebody, and that's if you anybody can get in it if they really want to, but it's a lot easier if you know somebody, is what I should have said.
Right.
Um, Fortunately for me, I have a family friend that actually works there. So,
Okay.
and he's been in radio most of his life, if not like since basically he was been an adult. So,
So what you're saying is you can help me get into radio, is what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, honestly haven't even got into radio either. The job that I
Yeah.
do is just a side gig that I'm
Right.
still working my way into trying to do whatever. But if I was
Yeah.
to ever get a full-time position, I would definitely vouch for you.
That that'd be awesome. So, you know what's funny is I always wanted to be involved in radio. Like even when I wanted to be a rock star,
Mm,
my idea was I would be a rock star and have a radio show like Robbie Goo. For those
nice.
of you who don't know, Robbie Goo, uh, bass player for the Goo Goo Dolls, has a radio show in Buffalo. And I don't know if he still has it, but he had it when they were super famous. And he had it when they weren't famous at all. So
Right.
um, I always liked. I didn't even necessarily want to be on the air, even though people are always like, "Oh, you have such a good voice, you should be on radio." Um, I wanted to be a program director, man,
Yeah.
because I just think I have the best taste in music in life,
Yeah.
which everybody does probably, you know. Well, no, I've actually met people who were like, I don't really care about music. And I'm just like, what? What planet are you on, dude? Because how do you not care about music? Um,
Right. I don't know. Is that even possible? Is that real? Like, does
I
people
guess
really
it
mean
is,
that?
dude. I don't know. I just listen to whatever comes on the radio. I don't really have a favorite song.
Now,
What?
I thought you said that there's people that don't like music.
No, I said don't care about music.
Still, I don't see how that's possible either.
Well, if they say like I just listen to what's on the radio, I don't really have a favorite song. To me, that's not caring. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
I got you.
Like if you're like, so what kind of music do you listen to? And they're just like, oh, whatever comes on. To me, that's not caring. You know what I mean? Like you
It's
don't
not
care. Like,
passion. Yeah.
yeah, you don't have music that you like to listen to? Are you freaking shitting me?
Okay.
You know, like how does that happen?
Yeah,
Like
I
what planet
understand.
is that person on? You know,
Yeah.
even if they're just like, oh, I just like jazz. I'll just throw some jazz on. Cool. You know what I mean? You
Right.
like something.
Something pops
Yeah.
out, and as soon as you
Yeah.
hear what do you like, they're like, oh yeah, I like whatever.
Yeah. But people who are just like, whatever's playing, it's fine.
Yeah, no, that's
Dude,
not me.
I'm not that guy. And I don't understand those people. So yeah, I just don't get it, man.
I have a buddy, the one that I do my other podcast with. He legitimately likes everything, and when I say everything,
Yeah.
he likes classical music, he likes opera, but he also likes
Yeah.
heavy metal. He likes like death metal, screamo, all that stuff,
Right, right.
and
Dude, so oh, go ahead.
he likes country. That's not
Yeah.
his favorite, but he appreciates everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, so there isn't a genre of music that I don't listen to.
Yeah,
Like I literally like every kind of music and I just say I like the best of everything.
yeah. There you go.
Because like I don't like every country singer, but I love Johnny Cash.
Right.
I love Jamie Johnson. Do that In Color song. Oh my
Mm.
Lord.
Oh yeah,
You
that's a
know?
good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. I don't, I love Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
Freaking so emotional,
Right.
you know? I don't like all super, super heavy metal, but I like Machine Head,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, so I like pop music, dude. I love the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
I will freaking rock out to some Spice Girls, dude. I love Disney singers.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's the production or something, but yeah, there's something about like I love that crap, dude.
Yeah.
Like Mitchell Musso, I have Mitchell Musso's freaking album and I listened to it. I just listened to it the other day. You know,
Right.
and I love alternative rock. I grew up on hard rock, like glam metal, Cinderella and Tesla and Winger and Bullet
Yeah.
Boys and Bang Tango and all that stuff. So I am diverse in my taste, but like I said, I like to say at least that if
Yeah.
I'm listening to blues, I'm going to be listening to Buddy Guy.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause Buddy Guy is the greatest blues player of all time, come at me. You know what I mean? I don't care, dude. Buddy Guy is amazing.
My dad was just telling me the other day that his parents didn't really care about music at all.
Yeah.
They didn't
See,
listen to music
that's
at all when he was. But the thing is, my dad was born in '62. There
okay.
wasn't the music we listen to today. We
Yeah.
didn't have that. I asked him right after that. I was like, he was born in '62. He was an adult before the '80s
Right. Right. Right.
when the real music started coming out.
Yeah, but
You
I
know what I
mean,
mean? Like he had the
yeah, but
Beatles in the '70s and all that, but
right, and Frank Sinatra
yeah,
and Hank Williams Jr. or Hank Williams Sr.
yeah.
There was definitely music out there,
Well,
man.
yeah, for sure. But
You
like
know,
the '80s is where everybody just erupted, man.
dude, I think the '70s, man, Jimi Hendrix and the Doors and freaking
Yeah,
Led Zeppelin,
the '70s was definitely like
Black Sabbath, like Steppenwolf. You know, that was
a lot of times people think of the '80s. You have to put the '70s in there for sure because the '70s started the '80s movement. I believe.
right. But without like the blues based stuff
Yeah,
of the '50s and '60s,
right.
like in the '50s and '60s, everything was based in the blues.
Hmm.
A lot of it was pretty simple, but it
Right.
progressed into
Hmm.
more. Like the Beatles, when they first started out, were a blues cover band.
Right.
You know, they were covering Muddy Waters and
Hmm.
and Howlin' Wolf and stuff like that. But eventually, they became, I still think, the most complex pop band of all time.
Yeah.
They were still making pop music, but it just turned into something
Yeah,
else.
because they had
You
"I
know,
Want to Hold Your Hand," and then they had "Helter Skelter." It's like those
right?
two songs are not at all the same.
Brother, yeah. I mean, and you know, the White Album, Happiness is a Warm Gun,
Yeah.
freaking oh, what's the song about John Lennon setting his lover's bed on fire? Norwegian Wood. Norwegian Wood is an amazing song. Yeah, it's called Norwegian Wood because that's what her bed was made out of.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. It's just like the finger picking in Norwegian Wood and like the Indian influences, like it's incredible, you know?
Yeah.
And then the Doors came along and poetry, you know what I mean? Poetry
Hmm.
set to music like that. Just
Right.
man, I don't understand. I feel like even if I was born in 1960, I feel like if I was born in 1940, I would have been listening to swing,
Yeah.
you know? So many good
Imagine
swing bands.
imagine being born in the '60s though, where you get to hear all of that your entire life.
Dude,
You get
it
to
would be
see.
like it would be like being born in the 80s for technology or being
Yeah.
born in the 70s for technology.
Yeah.
I was born in 1974 and I have been able to see literally every technological advancement known to man pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, like it's all happened. Like like everything has happened right in front of my face. I remember when HBO, I remember when cable
Hmm.
wasn't a thing. You know, when people didn't have cable. I
There
missed
was
out
no
on the
internet
telephone.
either.
Oh yeah, there was definitely no internet, dude.
Yeah.
Like there was absolutely no internet. Dude, you were almost born in time for there to be no internet.
Yeah, dude.
You know? I
That's
mean,
I'm
the
telling you.
internet kind of came out in like the mid 90s, but it didn't really take off until the early 2000s.
Right.
Late 90s, early
Now
2000s.
computers have been around for a good while.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah. But have you ever seen like pictures of the first supercomputer, quote unquote?
they took up a whole
It's like
room, dude.
yeah, it was gigantic, dude.
Yeah.
Gigantic. The first supercomputer.
Yeah.
And now we carry around supercomputers in our
In our pocket.
pocket.
Right.
Yeah, the way that stuff evolves is just insane, man.
Now we
It's
carry
just
something in our
wild.
pocket that's more powerful than the thing that went to the moon.
Yeah, it's
Allegedly.
nuts, dude. Allegedly, flat Earth Dave.
I don't know.
So
I don't buy the moon one as much.
I don't know, dude. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The wind thing is weird.
Yeah.
Like they say that the flag should be flaccid, but it's blowing out.
Flaccid.
Yeah, it was the only word I could think of, dude.
Sorry, I'm
All it means
dirty
is
mind.
just hanging there. That's all
Right.
it means.
Yeah, not to me.
You dirty
You
dog,
dirty
you.
boy.
Um, so yeah, the idea that the flag on the moon was blowing in the wind, that's
Yeah.
weird. Um, dude, honestly, I said this in private, and I'll say it on the podcast because whatever.
It's
Flat
over
Earth
now.
Dave kind of had me for a little bit. Like I was,
Hmm.
I mean, because I don't know anything. Like,
Right.
I'll listen to what you got to say.
Right.
But when he said that dinosaurs were a conspiracy to cover up giant humans and dragons,
Ah, man.
I was done, dude.
I was feeling it, and then he said that, and I was like, "Oh, come on, Dave."
Come on, Dave.
Dave,
Giant,
no, no,
giant
Dave.
humans and dragons. And dude,
It's
I'm
just,
not saying there wasn't dragons. Maybe there was, but there was not ever giant humans. I don't
yeah,
feel like a dragon is that far off from a dinosaur. So,
yeah,
you know, but giant humans did not happen.
yeah. I was telling my dad about that interview. I was like, he had really good points. He was using science to back it up, which I've never heard before.
Right.
And he said that, and I was like, God, man, you could have left that out, and you would have had a
Yeah. Yeah.
decent
It's my
set of
fault because
ratings.
I brought up my buddy who thinks the dinosaurs are fake.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
good that you
But
did though, because
yeah, expose the
right,
weirdness. Yeah.
he did it himself
And
though.
yeah, he did. And the thing about my buddy is he doesn't believe that the bones are real
Right.
because they've never recovered a full skeleton. He thinks that they plant the bones
Hmm.
and then they're like, "Oh, we've discovered a dinosaur bone."
Which could
And he thinks that,
who knows if they even bury him? Like,
right. And I mean, that is way more plausible than they're actually digging up
yeah,
bones, but they're bones of dragons and giant humans.
yeah.
Oh man, craziness, dude.
Who cares if
So
dinosaurs were real? Even who cares?
yeah, doesn't even matter anymore,
No,
right?
no,
Yeah,
it never did.
right. Well, no, I mean it mattered when there was dinosaurs. You know
Oh
what I'm
well,
saying? But yeah, but it doesn't matter now. It just never mattered. It's
no,
just something fascinating.
right,
Um, if you're into that kind of stuff.
right. But
So
to die on that hill would be kind of weird.
yeah, it would. It would definitely be kind of weird. So talking about Flat Earth Dave,
Yes.
who has been your favorite guest, man? Because you listen in on these podcasts most of the time, and then you also have to go back and edit out all the bullshit because sometimes there is some bullshit.
Yeah.
So you spend time
Yeah.
with these interviews. So who's been your favorite Who's been your favorite guest?
God, man, you're putting me on the spot.
yeah,
It's one of those things where you say, "What's your favorite song of all time?" And you're like, "Dude, there's like trillions of songs." Like I have no
I
idea.
just picked one and I've stuck to it now.
I'll
Like,
tell you. I'll
so,
tell you my
okay,
political answer. You ready?
yeah.
My favorite interview you've ever done is the next one you do.
Dude, I thought for sure you were going to say all of them, but it was close
No,
enough.
it's close enough.
Okay. So,
But no, I can try. I'll let me look.
I mean, I remember the one that you told me at the time, but since then we've done so many more. So I don't know if it's
I
still it. Yeah, I don't know if it still is your favorite one.
I honestly don't even remember who that
Well,
was.
it's going to be our first returning guest. He's going to be on in March again because he has a new book out.
Okay, so he's a writer. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've had so many good interviews.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to sound like I'm full of shit. But no, it's just you've had so many different people, and
I have. Yeah, there's been a
the
lot of
answer
different stuff.
the answer could go from what was the most engaging interview,
Yeah,
who was the nicest person,
sure.
what was the best niche that they were in. Like
I can
it
answer the nicest person, but it was probably the
yeah.
worst interview.
Mm,
John Easdale.
yeah.
He was so good to me, man. And I may be tainted on that, but and I sucked. I was so bad that week. I apologize to everyone who ever listened to that thing. Please listen to it to support John. He's such a good dude and such a talented musician. But I'm too close to that subject. I should never have ever interviewed my favorite musician, even though it was a dream of mine. I should have just let it be because I don't feel like I did him justice.
Yeah,
I think we had a great, fun conversation, but I don't think that it was a podcast worthy conversation.
that could just be you beating yourself up,
I
which is
probably am.
not a
Because
bad thing. Because
I feel like I should have given John Easdale the greatest interview that he's ever had in his life.
yeah,
Because there are literally people who get off this podcast and say that it's the best interview they've ever done.
hmm
That has happened multiple times.
right. And I
So
agree.
I
Like you
wish
ask
that John had said that.
genuine questions that people
Yeah.
have a clipboard and they just go in whatever direction they think that people
Right.
will like. But
Right.
you ask from real self-interest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's just like when we had Matthew Corrado on,
Yeah.
the guy from Diamond Dragons. Afterwards, he said that this was his favorite podcast.
Right.
And we barely talked about his book.
Right.
But we talked about, how artists should accept criticism. We talked about the creative process, and we talked about leaving Easter eggs in stories, and we talked about, how important it is to establish what the characters are before you even get started. And I've listened to him do other podcast interviews, and it's like, so what is your background in this?
Right.
Tell us about the plot of your book.
Just
Tell us,
such easy
and
things to answer.
right. And whereas I like to get people on here and get to know them as a person, and and I mean, I try to make sure that the discussions relate to what they're talking about, but I also, if
Right.
it doesn't relate, but they're willing to talk about it, let's go. You know what I mean?
Right. I
So
almost maybe this is a way of maybe this is why I'm not an interviewer, but I almost would overthink it to the point of if you're going to have a list of questions, see if you can ask a question that will lead into your next question that will lead into your next
well, yeah,
question
that's what.
you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that's actually what you're supposed to do. I mean,
Right.
that's what I do. But I've only had a list of questions exactly once. Every other time, I kind of lay out
That
an
was your
outline in my
first
head.
one, right?
Second one, Mickey
Second one.
Magnum. Yeah,
Oh,
Mickey
okay.
Magnum wanted me to send him a list of questions
Oh, that's
so
right, right.
so that he could keep on task, but then he didn't.
Yeah, you
Mickey's
guys
such. Yeah,
yeah,
we
you
talked
guys
about
went on.
everything, dude. Yeah,
Speaking of him, he
Mickey's
was
such
one
a
of my
good dude
favorites.
too. Yeah, Mickey's such a good dude, man.
Yeah.
I got to check on him. It's hard. Life gets going and you forget,
hmm
but he's still got cancer. You know what I mean? Like it's still
Yeah,
in his body.
right.
So yeah. Um,
If I was to give you
but
a top five, I think that'd
yeah,
probably be
top five.
easier.
What do we got?
Ilson, obviously.
Okay,
Um,
that was fun.
Flobo Boyce, he was a good dude.
Yeah, Flobo
Um,
was good too.
plus, we have that common interest in wrestling.
Right,
Um,
right.
so that definitely helps.
Yeah.
Rags Morales, obviously.
Ooh, such a good interview.
Um, probably Flat Earth Dave until the dinosaur thing. Like
Right on.
I was engaged, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
What's number five? I have no idea. I just had it pulled up and I knew what I was gonna say,
So
but I forgot about it. Let's
so
see.
when we got off the podcast with him,
hmm
and obviously this was probably in the middle of our run, so like I said, people may have surpassed him.
Right.
But
Oh,
when we had
Jordan
Evan
Guy, sorry.
Ginsberg on, oh Jordan, oh there we go.
Because that was fun. It was a fun
Dude,
interview
me
to
and
watch.
Jordan were silly.
Right.
It was
That's how I
ridiculous.
act on my show.
One of my best friends, dude. He's one of
Yeah.
my best friends.
Right.
Again, I don't know how informative of an interview that was, but I love Jordan, man. It's so good,
The
to
vibe was
talk.
amazing, dude. I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. There was a story about Jordan and my kid that we talked about, and we said I should have told on the podcast. But
Mm.
my son has shown signs of being on the spectrum
hmm
for most of his life. I mean, we never actually got him tested because just transportation issues and stuff.
hmm
And he does fine, But he when he was little wouldn't talk.
Right.
He still doesn't talk to an extent, but when he was little, he would not talk to people at all.
hmm
The only people he would talk to was people who he knew, and he had to know them very, very well. And he would not play with anyone. Like he had his toys and no one could touch them.
Yeah.
Jordan came over to our house when we first met, and I want to say Casey was like 2 going on 3 or 3 going on 4. I know he wasn't any older than 3. And Casey was on the floor playing with his toys, and he had a Batmobile. And Jordan likes comics. His original, well, I think it was actually his second gimmick, was Wade Castle. If you like comic books, you'll get the references. But anyway, Casey's playing with his Batmobile, and Jordan goes, "Hey, bud, that's a cool Batmobile." And then Casey wheeled it over to Jordan and let Jordan play with it.
Wow.
And
Without even
yeah,
asking.
and
Awesome.
yeah, just wheeled it over to him to play with it.
Wow.
And that was super cool. That's actually the only time Jordan ever came to my house to hang out because he moved. He moved out of Connersville right after that. But yeah, he's been my brother pretty much since the day we met. You know, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is. Some people just click with you, man.
Yeah.
And Jordan's one of those guys who I just clicked with from the time we met. So, but when we did that interview with Evan Ginsberg,
Yes.
after it got over with, you said that's my favorite guest that you've had.
I thought that
I
might
could
have been the
listen to him
one.
tell stories all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, obviously we've done more, a
Right.
lot more since then.
Right.
But sneak preview, Evan will be back on in March because he has a book coming out.
Nice.
So
Can't wait for
it's
that.
gonna be a good time. We're gonna talk about Evan's book, and yeah, I'm gonna buy it sometime between now and March so I can read it before he comes on. I'm actually gonna read the book this time. We've had authors on, and I have not read any of their books.
Yeah.
So,
But
you know, it's
you don't want to be that guy that pretends like they read it. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, dude. I tell them out straight out. I'm like, so your book looks interesting or whatever. In the case of Beth, like I liked her. I liked the rock and roll side of it. I don't necessarily know if her books are for me. I'm not really a Harlequin romance kind of guy. I'm
I don't
more
know.
of a
I feel like the way I see your show, and obviously I have a
yeah,
biased view, but
yeah,
the way I see your show is your job is more to humanize these people.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I would agree with that, man. I mean, it's so funny because I look at the interviews that I do with people, and then I go and look at the interviews that other people do with them, and for the most part, what I do is so different.
yeah.
And I'm just like, why is it so different? And I don't get it, man. And I don't want this to sound like, this is the podcast where Keith and Tyler talk about how awesome they are. But,
Well,
we
we
are
are.
pretty freaking
So,
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We are pretty freaking awesome. So,
right.
you know, so what do we got coming up, man? Not just for like, what does ME Studios got coming up?
Right now, just to continue what we're doing, the live streaming the wrestling show is going to be a big deal for me.
Yeah.
It's almost dipping my toe back into a similar vibe as the wrestling, like the live event type stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is something I didn't even know I wanted to do, but I ended up, you know, doing it for almost a year. So,
Yeah. And so what Tyler's talking about is we are going to be live streaming during the Royal Rumble tomorrow,
yes,
starting with the pre-show. But aside from that, Roundtable Wrestling is going to be going live on YouTube all the time,
at home.
on Saturdays. Yeah, yeah, we're going to be on YouTube. This was our last episode on Kish Radio today, actually. So at the time of this recording. So and tomorrow's the Royal Rumble, which by the time this airs, it won't
Everybody's
be.
gonna know what happened already.
Yeah, but we are gonna be live streaming at the Royal Rumble, so or on the Royal Rumble from my house. I know for sure that me and David are gonna be doing a big chunk of it,
Okay,
but I am gonna be the only consistent host,
nice.
and there might be times when Tyler's gonna have to freaking hop in and help me out.
Yeah, it's,
'Cause-
I don't know if I will be able to though, because I'll be working at the station during the
right,
live
you're gonna be at
stream.
the station. Everybody's gonna be doing stuff. Literally everyone is doing
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, there might be times when I am literally the only person, and I'm just gonna be going, "Whoa, look at Fallon Henley being hot," and stuff
Yeah.
like that. No, I'll try to be a little more concise than that,
Right. This is a
but yeah,
joke.
man, yeah. And then after the Rumble, we're gonna do a live on your podcast, right?
Yeah, no, not live, but
Not a live. We're just gonna
no.
record an episode.
Yeah,
Okay. Gonna record like a reaction to the Rumble after.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, the
So yeah, busy
reaction
weekend
to.
for Emmy Studios as a whole,
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man.
and
So,
I have the unfortunate duty of being in charge of all of it. So,
what have you thought about moving us over to Twitch?
so I don't know much about the platform, but I would be down
Yeah.
to.
Because I mean, I think there's a way to live stream simultaneously. Like we could
Yeah,
live
you have
stream
to
on
pay for
YouTube
a bunch of
and
stuff,
Twitch.
but
Um, because from what I understand, and viewers, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, uh, once you get two consistent listeners, you can monetize on Twitch.
hmm,
So
I don't,
we
I
could
like I
start
said, I don't
making
know.
money
Right,
pretty quickly off Twitch. If I'm pretty sure that we're entertaining enough to get two people that tune in every freaking week.
right.
I hope, especially with
Could
Pablo.
definitely be something that we talk about in the future, but
Yeah.
we to live stream more than one different platform at the same time, you have to pay for a service. So,
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's not really in the cards right now.
No, not right
So
now. It's not.
unfortunately,
We
yeah.
broke.
Talking business on the
Hell
podcast.
yeah, dude. That's what we do.
Word up. All right, man.
I don't
Well,
know. I feel
dude,
like people like
oh, go ahead,
me,
man.
people like me
Yeah.
that are nerds, I feel like not enough people talk business on camera.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, dude. I
And
mean,
I've always been interested in behind the scenes.
yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely.
there's probably
I thought,
somebody watching like, holy shit, this is great.
yeah, yeah. So honestly, like we can talk a little bit more behind the scenes. Like by the end of the month in February, I'm planning on getting enough stuff so
Hmm.
that I can have my own little studio in my house.
Hmm.
Um, and thank you so much to Savannah Costello, Dylan Cole's girlfriend. Um, she was planning on starting a podcast and she never did. And she was like, I can't even remember how much I paid for this stuff. You've always been good to me. You can have it.
Yeah, that's wild.
And that is why you don't be a dick to people. I mean, that's not the real reason. The real reason is just be a good person, man.
And
But
thank you from
sometimes it
the
comes back around to you. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
And so Savannah, who's a sweetheart, man, great girl, believes in the right stuff, stands up for the right people. Um, and she's non-binary, but I think
Hmm.
she's she they. So I think it's okay for me to call her a girl. Sorry if it's not. I don't really know how
Right.
that stuff works.
Yeah,
Um,
that stuff always makes me nervous because I don't want to offend anybody.
yeah, yeah. I think that Savannah would know that I'm just a 50-year-old dude who's just trying to be
Yeah.
nice to her.
Well,
I hope.
it's one of those, well, as a 50-year-old man too, that people look at the older generation as people that don't want to change. So it
Yeah,
can
and it
come
doesn't
off
have
as
anything to
purposely.
do with that. Sometimes I just
Absolutely
don't
not.
know.
Right.
Sometimes I just don't know.
Right. And
You know?
I feel like people shouldn't be super nervous about it because if you say it wrong, they should know better to correct you in a nice way. And then if you
Yeah,
do it again and you know it's purposeful, then that's when you can start being a dick. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, but yeah. But Savannah gave me two really cool mics and some other thing. What is it? I don't even know what it is. Some kind of a
Oh, like a mixer?
sound. It's okay, yeah, like a mixer, which I guess we can use to make stuff sound good. I don't know. Um, and so once I get, some headphones and a computer, which I'm hoping to get by the end of the month in February. Tyler's going to hook it up, and I will have a studio, and he will have a studio, and we can studio it up
Hell
in
yeah.
two separate places. So
Word, brother.
that'll be cool, man. Hell yeah. So, so I think I'm gonna hop off and make some dinner and This has been this. I'm tired. I only slept like 2 hours, and I did an almost 2.5 hour wrestling podcast
Right,
right
you're probably
before I did
drained.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I apologize if my energy was a little bit low this week, but man, Tyler, thank you so much, dude.
yeah, no problem, man.
I thank you every week, and now I get to thank you right here on the air. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you to everybody who listens. Thank you to my brothers on the Roundtable Wrestling podcast. You guys encourage me more than you know. Actually, I tell you guys all the time how much you encourage me, so you know. But and man, the Flat Earth Dave podcast has almost 1,000 views on YouTube. Almost 1,000 views. We gained 3 subscribers. But if people keep watching it, go back and look at our other stuff.
Yeah.
I get that like people want to know about Flat Earth Dave. He has a lot of support, but there's a lot of cool stuff on the channel, man. So check it out. Check out the YouTube. Check out the Spotify. Most Excellent Entertainment all over the daggone place. So yeah, everybody check this out, man. Thank you for checking it out, and we will be back next week with more Most Excellent Entertainment.